Hi friends, Mawdiay Faith here again, and I know it has been a long time since we finished chapter 5, and I am very sorry about that, but I thought we could finish chapter 5 of Fearful's Journey Through the Desert. If you are just joining us, I will leave the links to the first few chapters in the comments below, and I hope you will enjoy reading Fearful's Journey Through the Desert with us. Come along. All four girls were tired, and so after eating went straight to bed. All except Fearful fell asleep right away. She couldn't go to sleep, for she had a plan, and she couldn't trust herself to even close her eyes until it was done. Knowing that infection would set in to Noble Conceited's wounds if they were not attended, Fearful had determined that she wanted to help him. Her heart had been moved for compassion for the first time. Now, Noble Conceited was a wicked official of Prince Iniquity who was mean and cruel as well. And somehow he fell out of Prince Iniquity's good graces. And we're not told why, but Fearful, who has been mistreated by them both, wants to help Noble Conceited, who is now being treated like a slave and is all whipped. What do you think? Is that a good idea that she should help him? What do you think? Put your comments in the comments below. And I hope you will think about what Fearful is doing and think about whether you agree or disagree and why you agree or disagree. Her grandmother had died 6 years ago, and yet she could hear the dear woman's gravelly voice still. Little Rose, there is a king who hates to see people suffering. He hurts to see the slaves being whipped. He has placed a small portion of that pain in my heart as well. She felt her grandmother's maimed hand on her shoulder still. Why would you want someone else's pain, Nana? You have enough of your own. Her grandmother's sad smile confessed that this was true. That, my child, I cannot explain. The best I can do is to pray that some day you will understand. Now, remembering the whole thing, Fearful took a deep, long breath. She was going to overcome her fear and help a man who was being punished, for now she understood. She waited until she was certain everyone else was asleep, and then very quietly whispered to Scaredy Cat to wake up. What's going on? Shush! Hurry! Put on your sandals. Fearful had already started to wind the leather laces of one sandal around her ankle. I need your help with something, so be quick. Once they were done getting sandals on, Fearful got two of their soup bowls and a pail and handed them to Scaredy Cat. Now ready, the two quietly sneaked out the door and headed away from the gardens, the slave huts, and the city. The moon shone and illuminated the whole land, making it easy to see, but also making them easy targets. What do you think? Should they as slaves be out and about after night? They might get whipped for being caught. At every rustling leaf, every distant hyena call, Fearful froze, holding her breath to listen. There were times she was sure she heard someone calling after them, but every time it was just her imagination. By the time they got to the cave, her hands were trembling, and her nerves were so taut she didn't know how much longer she could take this. King Holy One, I need your help, Fearful murmured. She wasn't sure if what Prince Anointed One had said to her applied also to the king, but it was worth a try. Once those words left her mouth, she felt a small drop of courage in the pit of her stomach. She was still somewhat scared. However, the strong urge to run back to the shack and stay out of harm's way had left. What do you think of Prince Anointed One and King Holy One? They're helping Fearful. What do you think? What kind of characters are they? Let me know. Fearful led the way through the back, following the sound of the creek slowly making its way through the cave. Once there, she felt along the left entrance wall for the lamp that she knew always hung on a peg. She lit it with one of the matches she had brought along. Then the two started down through the tunnel, while Fearful looked for something on the wall. The dim light threw long, eerie shadows on the wall as the flame played inside the soot-smudged globe of the lamp. The creek whispered as it ambled along. Fearful tried not to think of the one dead body that lay on the other side of the right wall. She didn't do a very good job of pushing the thought of the corpse out of her mind, and she began to wonder if she would ever get out of Prince Iniquity's grasp. What do you think? Will she be able to get free from Prince Iniquity? Is it a good thing to get away from Prince Iniquity? What do you think? Tell me. What time do you think it is? Fearful looked over her shoulder at Scaredy Cat, who had sweat pouring down her face, even though it wasn't that hot in the cave. Why does Scaredy Cat have sweat pouring down her face if it's cold in the cave? What do you think? How is she feeling right now? Somewhere around 8, Scaredy Cat whispered. Good. Don't worry, we're almost there. What are we doing? My grandparents used to make a medicine that they would put on the whipped slaves' backs to stop infection. There's a spot in the wall that's full of the minerals that make the medicine strong. My grandparents were servants of King Holy One, and he sent them to the land of enslavement to minister to the people here and try to lead them to him. I am going to make the medicine for Noble Conceited. Fearful, do you know what will happen if we're caught? Fearful, do you know what will happen if we are caught? Fearful slapped a hand over Scaredy Cat's mouth because she had started screaming. Fearful put a finger to her own mouth before releasing Scaredy Cat's mouth. Yes, I do, but if we don't, we're worse than even Prince Iniquity. I'm nervous, too. There's one thing I know for sure, though. If I ever want to be free of that evil one someday, I have to stop letting him control me with fear. Do you agree with Fearful? Does she need to stop letting Prince Iniquity control her with the fear? What do you think? Why aren't you scared stiff? Because I know that I have King Holy One to protect me. Scaredy Cat looked thoughtful at this statement. Now pick as many of those green berries as you can find. We'll feed them to Noble Conceited. He's probably starving. Fearful pointed to a bush that was profuse with the green berries that were indigenous only to the caves in the land of enslavement. Fearful had found the big black axe on the wall that she'd been looking for, while Scaredy Cat picked berries from the big bush that grew from the back in the rock floor. Fearful stepped up into the... Apparently I'm struggling to read, friends. Sorry about that. Fearful had found the big black axe on the wall that she'd been looking for, while Scaredy Cat picked the berries from the big bush that grew from the crack in the rock floor. Fearful stepped up into the foothole that was there. She scooped her bowl in the big crack of the ceiling, where she knew there was a pool of a dust-like substance. After this, she got her hand wet and let it dip into the bowl. She did this several times, stirring it as the water dripped in. By the time Scaredy Cat had a bowl full of berries, Fearful had the medicine at just the right texture. They filled the pail with the crystal-clear water and then hurried back through the tunnel. Once back at the entrance, they blew out the lantern and put it back on its peg. They then hastened as fast as they could with the bucket of water, bowl of medicine, and bowl of berries out of the cave. They hoped with all their beings that it wasn't 10 yet, because that was when the guard checked the huts. They hurried across the moonlit fields that separated the cave from the gardens and the slave shacks, trying to stay in what shadows they could. The summer's heat still hung in the air. Fearful wiped the sweat from her forehead, not sure if it was the stuffy climate or her nervousness. Every muscle in... What do you think? Is it the heat or is it her nervousness? Do you get sweaty when you're nervous? Sometimes it happens. Every muscle inside her was as taut as a bowstring as she crouched behind their last hiding place. After that, there was 10 yards of clear space until they came to the shacks. She couldn't wait until the whole ordeal was done. Never in her life had she felt so tense. "Come on, let's go. The coast is clear." "I thought I saw something move," Fearful whispered. She knew it was better to be cautious than a brave fool and go out without making sure the coast was truly clear. Some clouds were covering the moon. The castle and shacks were just dark squares. Fearful waited a long time and then decided it was safe. She darted across the space between the hiding place and the nearest shack, and then crept along the shacks until she came to the one closest to the castle. Fearful gently knocked on the door, hoping no one but Noble Conceited would wake up. The door was opened right away, and a tall, dark form filled the doorway. "We came to help you. Can we come in?" The form hung his head in disgrace and started to shut the door. "No, wait, please. Don't let pride get in the way. I have some medicine to put on your back to stop the pain and infection." Fearful grabbed the door to stop him from closing it. Noble Conceited paused a second before opening the door wider to let them in. It was pitch dark inside the shack with the door closed. "Great. How am I supposed to work in this?" Fearful murmured. She had just finished saying this when she heard scratch, hiss, and then there was a spark of light. Scaredy Cat was lighting a candle. Fearful gave her friend a thumbs up and got right to work on Noble Conceited's back. He didn't say a thing the whole time. Fearful wondered if he still was being prideful or was just too embarrassed to speak. And anger rose up within her as she looked at his back in the flickering light. It was all torn up. There wasn't a spot on his back that wasn't caked in blood. How do you think he feels? He's just been whipped on his back to the point where it's all caked in blood. That would hurt. How do you think he feels about being whipped like that? Tell me in the comments below. There wasn't a spot on his back that wasn't caked in blood. Prince Anointed One would never have done something so cruel, no matter what. Why was she staying in the land of enslavement with such a cruel master? Noble Conceited cringed. Fearful looked down to see what she'd done. She discovered she was rubbing too hard, causing him pain. With this, she realized why she stayed. She was scared of being caught again and having a back like his. For if she was caught once again going against Prince Iniquity's will, she surely would be whipped, if not worse. Was it really better being a slave and not risking getting hurt, or risking it and having a chance of being free? What do you think? Is it better to not risk getting hurt and being a slave the whole time? Or is it better to risk it and maybe have a chance of being free? What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. There was a fierce war going on inside Fearful's heart. At the moment, it seemed the side to stay was winning. Oh, she was torn in two wretched parts. One part yearned to be free and have that love Prince Anointed One had given her. This part was desperately clawing for ground. The other was terrified of the risk of getting hurt. This part kept pushing the longing for freedom down. Fearful quickly finished putting on the medicine and then wiped her slippery hands on her rough potato sack dress. She addressed him. "There are some berries and some water for you, sir. They'll give you back your strength. Is there anything else we can do for you?" I should probably go. I need to get ready for my next class of students. God bless. I hope you enjoy. Bye.